The roots of Jack Reaver's extraordinary journey stretched far beyond his own memories, deeply embedded in the complex tapestry of his family's legacy of service and survival. His great-grandfather, Samuel Reaver, had been a code-breaker during World War II, a man who understood that true warfare was as much about intellect as it was about physical prowess. The stories passed down through generations spoke of a quiet genius who could unravel enemy communications with nothing more than a pencil, a sharp mind, and an unbreakable sense of duty. His grandfather, Thomas's Vietnam experience had been more visceral, a reconnaissance specialist who had survived the most brutal terrains of Southeast Asia. Thomas carried wounds both physical and psychological. His body was a map of survival, each scar a testament to moments where death had come close, but ultimately retreated. But it was his mind that truly set him apart. Thomas had learned that survival was never about brute strength, but about adaptability, observation, and an almost supernatural ability to read environments. Jack's earliest memories were filled with these lessons. Weekend trips to the mountains were never simple recreational outings. They were intensive training sessions disguised as family time. While other children learned to ride bicycles, Jack was learning to read topographical maps by firelight, to identify animal tracks with a single glance, to understand the complex language of wilderness survival. His mother, Elena Reaver, brought a different dimension to his education. A medical researcher specializing in extreme environmental physiology, she approached Jack's development with scientific precision. Her work studying how human bodies respond to stress, from Arctic expeditions to high-altitude research, became Jack's unofficial curriculum. Dinner conversations were less about daily school events and more about cellular adaptation, metabolic efficiency, and the human body's remarkable capacity to overcome seemingly impossible challenges. The mind controls the body, Elena would often tell him, but knowledge controls the mind. It was more than just a motivational phrase. It was a philosophy that Jack would internalize, transforming it into a fundamental approach to every challenge he would face. Michael Reaver, Jack's father, added another layer to this complex educational approach. A forest ranger with extensive search and rescue experience, he understood the psychological aspects of survival better than most. He taught Jack that true strength wasn't about physical capability, but about mental resilience. Survival scenarios became intricate puzzles, each challenge a test of problem-solving skills rather than pure physical endurance. By the time Jack entered high school, he was already an anomaly. While his peers were concerned with social status and teenage rebellions, he was completing advanced wilderness survival courses, studying advanced mathematics, and developing a marksmanship skill that would make professional shooters look amateurish. His high school years were a delicate balance of academic excellence and practical skill development. Advanced placement courses in physics and mathematics complemented his ongoing physical training. He wasn't just learning. He was systematically building a comprehensive toolkit that would later make him exceptional in military service. The local shooting range became his secondary classroom. Owners and longtime shooters would watch in amazement as the young Jack would consistently outperform seasoned marksmen. But it wasn't just about hitting targets. Jack understood the complex physics of ballistics, wind resistance, gravitational drop, atmospheric conditions, transforming shooting from a skill to an almost mathematical art form. His breakthrough came during a national youth marksmanship competition when he was 16. While other competitors focused on standard techniques, Jack approached each shot like a complex mathematical equation. His ability to calculate and adjust for variables that others didn't even consider set him apart. He didn't just win. He redefined the competition's understanding of precision shooting. College wasn't a traditional path for Jack. Instead, he pursued specialized certifications in emergency medical response, advanced wilderness survival, and tactical communication. Each course was carefully selected, each skill meticulously developed, with a singular purpose: to prepare himself for a life of service. The military was always his ultimate destination, but not out of a desire for glory or adventure. For Jack, it was about continuing a family legacy of protection, of standing between potential chaos and those who needed defending. The Reaver family had never seen military service as a career, but as a calling, a sacred responsibility passed down through generations. When he finally walked into the Navy SEAL recruitment office, he wasn't just another candidate. He was the culmination of generations of training, a living testament to the power of deliberate, focused preparation. The recruiters saw more than a potential soldier. They saw a precision instrument, finely tuned by years of uncompromising education and training. Jack Reaver was more than a name. He was a legacy waiting to be fulfilled, a promise of protection, forged through generations of service, sacrifice, and an unwavering commitment to something greater than oneself. As he stood on the threshold of his military career, the weight of his family's history was not a burden. It was wings. The first time Jack Reaver met Commander Michael Rodriguez, the air crackled with an unspoken intensity that transcended typical military introductions. It was during an advanced training exercise at the Naval Special Warfare Center in Coronado, California, a place where legends were born and broken in equal measure. Rodriguez wasn't just another commanding officer. He was a living legend, a man whose reputation preceded him like a thundercloud. 15 years of special operations had transformed him into something more than human, a tactical genius who seemed to read battlefields like most people read books. His body told stories of survival, a jagged scar running from his left temple to his jaw, eyes that had witnessed humanity's darkest moments, and hands that could kill or save a life with equal precision. The initial assessment was brutal. Rodriguez designed a training scenario that pushed human limitations beyond what most considered possible. A simulated extraction mission in a mock urban environment with conditions that changed every millisecond. While other candidates broke under the pressure, Jack became more focused, more calculated. Most soldiers see obstacles, Rodriguez would later tell Jack during a rare moment of reflection. You see opportunities. There's a difference between surviving and living, between following orders and understanding the mission's soul. Their first real connection came during a night navigation exercise. Most trainees struggled with the complex terrain, a meticulously designed landscape that mimicked the most challenging environments on the planet. Jack moved like a shadow, his understanding of terrain so intuitive it seemed supernatural. Rodriguez watched, his experienced eye catching details that others missed. The turning point came during a scenario that simulated a hostage rescue in an Afghan-like mountain region. Jack's approach was unlike anything Rodriguez had seen. Where others would charge forward or rely solely on firepower, Jack analyzed the entire ecosystem of the mission. Wind patterns, rock formations, potential enemy positions. He processed information at a speed that seemed to bend time itself. Their first joint mission in Afghanistan was less a military operation and more a dance of strategic brilliance. Intelligence had located a high-value target in a Taliban-controlled valley, a location so dangerous that most commanders would have called it a suicide mission. Rodriguez saw it differently. He saw an opportunity to redefine special operations tactics. Jack's role was critical. As the team's primary long-range support, he would provide overwatch from a position that seemed mathematically impossible. The mission required hitting targets from over 2 miles away, through mountain winds that could throw off a shot by mere millimeters. Where other snipers would see impossibility, Jack saw a complex equation waiting to be solved. The night before the mission, Rodriguez shared something personal, a rarity for a commander known for his stoic demeanor. He spoke of previous missions, of lives lost and saved, of the thin line between tactical success and complete failure. Jack listened, not just hearing the words, but understanding the weight behind them. "In our line of work," Rodriguez said, his voice low and intense, "perfection isn't just a goal. It's the bare minimum for survival." The mission itself became legendary within special operations circles. Jack neutralized 3 high-value targets with such precision that it seemed more like mathematical calculation than human action. His first shot took out a communication hub, creating a cascade of tactical advantages that Rodriguez exploited with surgical efficiency. But it wasn't just about the shots fired. It was about communication, about a symbiotic understanding that developed between commander and sniper. Rodriguez would later describe it as something beyond training, a supernatural connection that transcended typical military protocols. Their bond wasn't built on traditional military camaraderie. It was a partnership of minds, of strategic thinkers, who understood that modern warfare was as much about intellect as it was about physical prowess. Jack brought a scientific approach to combat each movement, each shot a carefully calculated decision. Rodriguez provided the strategic framework, the ability to see the entire chessboard, while Jack focused on the most critical pieces. Back at base, other operators would watch their interaction with a mixture of respect and disbelief. Jack wasn't just a sniper. He was a tactical asset that could change the entire dynamics of a mission. Rodriguez wasn't just a commander. He was a strategic architect who could turn seemingly impossible scenarios into successful operations. Their partnership represented a new generation of special operations, where technology, human capability, and strategic thinking converged to redefine the very concept of military engagement. They weren't just soldiers. They were problem solvers. Protectors who understood that true security wasn't about overwhelming force, but about precise, calculated intervention. As they prepared for increasingly complex missions, Jack and Rodriguez developed a communication style that went beyond words. A subtle hand gesture, a slight head movement, these became their language, a silent dialogue that spoke volumes in the most critical moments. The military had created many teams before, but what was forming between Jack Reaver and Michael Rodriguez was something different. It was a partnership that would soon become legendary, a combination of skills and understanding that would change the very nature of special operations. Their story was just beginning, but already they were becoming more than individuals. They were becoming a force of nature. The mission briefing room was a cathedral of tension, where silence carried more weight than words. Advanced satellite imagery covered every inch of the walls, a topographical nightmare of terrain, so complex it seemed designed to swallow entire armies. This wasn't just another operation. This was a mission that would redefine the boundaries of what was considered possible. Commander Rodriguez stood at the center, his presence commanding absolute attention. Jack Reaver studied the maps with a mathematician's precision, his mind already breaking down the landscape into a series of complex equations. Every contour line, every potential elevation change, every possible wind current became a variable in an intricate problem waiting to be solved. Intelligence had uncovered a critical asset, a high-value target with information that could potentially alter the entire geopolitical landscape. Trapped deep behind enemy lines in a region that had defeated countless military operations, the extraction seemed impossible. Most commanders would have labeled it a suicide mission. Rodriguez saw it as the ultimate challenge. The target was Dr. Elena Kaori, a brilliant biochemist who had been working on a classified project that had attracted the attention of multiple international intelligence agencies. Her work promised or threatened revolutionize biological research in ways that could fundamentally change global power dynamics. Whether she was a prisoner or a willing participant remained unclear, adding another layer of complexity to an already impossible mission. Jack's initial analysis was brutal in its honesty. The terrain gives us less than a 12% chance of successful extraction, he stated, his voice devoid of emotion. It wasn't pessimism, it was pure mathematical calculation. The region was a tactical nightmare, a labyrinth of mountain ranges, deep valleys, and terrain so unpredictable that traditional military approaches would be suicide. Rodriguez appreciated Jack's approach. Most soldiers would offer false hope or dramatic promises. Jack provided cold, hard probability, the kind of insight that could actually save lives. Our success, Rodriguez responded, will be determined by our ability to see what others cannot. The preparation was methodical, almost surgical. Jack spent days creating detailed terrain models, using advanced computational techniques to predict every possible scenario. He developed custom ballistic calculations that took into account not just standard variables, but unique atmospheric conditions specific to the mission's location. Wind patterns, rock formations, potential echolocations, nothing was left to chance. Their team was carefully selected, not just for physical capability, but for mental resilience. Each member underwent psychological evaluations that went far beyond standard military assessments. Rodriguez wanted operators who could think, adapt, and survive when all standard protocols failed. Technical preparations were equally intense. Custom communication systems were developed to operate in an environment that would typically block most standard military frequencies. Jack worked with communication specialists to develop a communication method that was part encryption, part mathematical code, systems so complex that interception would be virtually impossible. The equipment was a testament to technological innovation. Custom-designed camouflage that could adapt to multiple terrain types. Lightweight body armor that provided maximum protection with minimal weight, and communication devices that could transmit information through geological barriers. Each piece of equipment was selected and modified with surgical precision. Jack's rifle was a masterpiece of engineering, a custom-built precision instrument that was more computer than weapon. Integrated sensors would calculate wind speed, atmospheric pressure, and potential trajectory adjustments in milliseconds. It wasn't just a weapon. It was an extension of Jack's computational mind. As the mission date approached, the tension was palpable. This wasn't just about extracting a single individual. It was about maintaining a delicate balance of global information security. Dr. Coe's knowledge could potentially prevent or trigger international conflicts, depending on who ultimately gained access to her. Rodriguez understood the psychological component of such a mission. We're not just extracting a person, he told the team during their final briefing. We're managing a potential global chess game where every move could trigger unintended consequences. Jack's preparation went beyond physical and technical readiness. He developed multiple extraction scenarios, each more complex than the last. Where most would create a primary and backup plan, he generated 17 distinct approaches, each with multiple contingencies. It wasn't about being over-prepared. It was about understanding that in complex missions, adaptability was the ultimate survival skill. The night before deployment was unlike any pre-mission preparation Jack had experienced. Instead of typical military bravado, there was a calculated calm. Team members reviewed their roles with a clinical detachment that bordered on meditative focus. Each understood that their success depended not on individual heroics, but on their ability to function as a single, adaptive organism. Rodriguez watched Jack during these final preparations, seeing more than just a sniper. He saw a strategic mind that could potentially redefine modern military operations. Jack wasn't just preparing for a mission, he was developing a new approach to complex problem-solving that transcended traditional military thinking. As dawn approached and final preparations were completed, the team moved with a synchronized precision that seemed almost supernatural. They weren't just soldiers. They were a living, breathing system designed to accomplish the impossible. The mission to extract Dr. Elena Kawari was about to begin, and nothing, absolutely nothing, was left to chance. The impossible was about to become possible. Midnight arrived like a predator, absolute and unforgiving. The darkness wasn't just an absence of light, it was a living entity, thick with potential violence. Jack Reaver's night vision equipment transformed the landscape into a monochromatic world of stark contrasts, where every shadow held a potential threat. Their insertion was a masterpiece of tactical precision. 3 Black Hawk helicopters approached from different vectors, their advanced sound-dampening technology rendering them almost invisible. Commander Rodriguez had planned the approach with mathematical precision, each helicopter's trajectory calculated to minimize detection, to become less than a whisper against the mountainous terrain. Jack was positioned on a ridge nearly 3 kilometers from the primary insertion point. His role was more than just support. He was the team's eyes, their early warning system, their mathematical insurance policy. A custom-built rifle beside him was more computer than weapon, its integrated systems constantly calculating wind speed, atmospheric pressure, potential trajectory adjustments. The first sign that something was wrong came not from sound, but from absence. The natural environment, the subtle background noise of insects, distant animal calls, the whisper of wind through rock formations went completely silent. It was the kind of silence that predators recognize, the moment before absolute chaos. Rodriguez felt it first. A subtle tension in his communication hand signals, a microscopic adjustment in his breathing. Decades of special operations had given him an almost supernatural ability to sense impending danger. Something's not right, he subvocalized into the team's encrypted communication system. Jack's computational analysis confirmed Rodriguez's intuition. Thermal imaging showed slight anomalies, heat signatures that didn't match the expected terrain profile. Multiple potential hostile positions, he reported, his voice clinical and precise. Approximately 37 degrees northeast, potential clustering of heat signatures inconsistent with local wildlife or natural terrain features. The attack, when it came, was like a thunderclap of violence. Rocket-propelled grenades erupted from seemingly impossible angles, turning the rocky terrain into a landscape of instantaneous destruction. The first explosion obliterated the lead helicopter, sending fragments of advanced military technology spinning through the air like deadly confetti. The night transformed into a hellscape of fire, sound, and calculated destruction. Rodriguez's training took over. Where lesser commanders might have panicked, he became a living tactical computer. Delta Team, hard cover. Charlie, suppress and maneuver. His commands were crisp, precise, cutting through the chaos like a laser. Jack's role became critical. From his elevated position, he could see the entire battlefield, a 3-dimensional chess game where each piece moved with lethal intent. His first shot was more than just a bullet. It was a strategic intervention. A machine gun nest that would have decimated the ground team disappeared in a mist of precision-guided destruction. The enemy's tactics were sophisticated far beyond typical insurgent capabilities. These were trained operators, using advanced positioning techniques that suggested state-level training. They weren't just fighting. They were executing a meticulously planned ambush. Dr. Alana Kawari's extraction had become something far more complex. This was no longer just a mission. This was a high-stakes confrontation that would determine global information dynamics. Jack's computational mind was working at superhuman speeds. Each shot was a complex calculation weighing resistance, bullet drop, target movement, potential collateral damage. He wasn't just shooting. He was systematically dismantling the enemy's tactical advantage, one precision shot at a time. Rodriguez moved with a fluid grace, that defied his years of service. Where younger operators might have seen chaos, he saw opportunity. Each explosion, each burst of gunfire was information, a piece of a larger tactical puzzle that he was constantly reassembling. The ground team was experiencing hell. Rocks exploded into deadly shrapnel, the mountain itself seeming to turn against them. But they moved with a synchronicity that spoke of years of training, of a bond forged in countless impossible missions. Jack's communication became their lifeline. Multiple hostiles, Eastern Ridge. Approximately 12 tangos. Recommend heavy suppression and rapid repositioning. His voice remained calm, almost conversational, a mathematical narrator describing a complex, deadly equation. One of the most critical moments came when an RPG threatened to completely compromise the team's primary extraction route. Jack shot a near-impossible calculation that seemed to defy physical laws, destroyed the launcher milliseconds before launch. It wasn't just a shot. It was a strategic intervention that potentially saved multiple lives. Rodriguez understood something fundamental in that moment. Jack wasn't just a sniper. He was a strategic asset that could fundamentally alter the dynamics of modern warfare. His ability to process information, to see tactical opportunities where others saw only chaos, was beyond standard military training. The battle continued, a complex dance of violence and strategy. Each moment was a calculation, each movement a potential life or death decision. The mountain, indifferent to human conflict, watched as this deadly ballet played out across its ancient rocky landscape. As the initial wave of attack began to subside, Jack and Rodriguez knew something profound. This was more than just an extraction mission. This was a confrontation that would have global implications, a moment that would potentially reshape international dynamics. The impossible mission had just become infinitely more complex, and they were just getting started. Communication was dying each second, a battle against technological failure and overwhelming enemy presence. Commander Rodriguez's voice crackled through the damaged radio, a ghost of its former clarity, desperation etching every syllable. Hammer. 6, we are compromised. Multiple tangos, heavy fire. The SOS was more than a standard distress call. It was a prayer sent into the void of communication blackout, a mathematical impossibility transformed into their only hope of survival. Jack. Reaver's world condensed into a microscopic point of absolute focus. From his elevated position, the battlefield was a complex three-dimensional chessboard where every movement could mean life or death. The communication systems were systematically being destroyed, a calculated attack designed to isolate and eliminate the team. Dr. Elena Cowrie, their primary extraction target, had become more than just a mission objective. She was now the critical variable in an equation of survival that was rapidly becoming unsolvable. Intelligence suggested she possessed information that could alter global power, dynamics information that multiple international agencies would kill to obtain or suppress. The team's communication equipment was a marvel of military technology, designed to operate in the most challenging environments. But the enemy's technological capabilities had proven far more sophisticated than initial. Intelligence suggested jamming signals, targeted electronic warfare, precision destruction of communication infrastructure. This was no ordinary confrontation. Rodriguez's tactical training took over. Decades of special operations experience had prepared him for moments when standard protocols became meaningless. Delta Team, radio silence, he subvocalized, knowing that every transmission could potentially reveal their position. Fall back to secondary rally point. Maintain visual contact. Jack's computational mind was working at superhuman speeds. His scope became more than just a targeting system. It was their lifeline, their only remaining connection to tactical awareness. Each sweep of the terrain was a complex calculation. Potential enemy positions, terrain advantages, potential extraction. Roots, and mountain itself seemed to be conspiring against them. Rock formations that had previously offered cover now became potential death traps. Every shadow held the potential for sudden, violent destruction. The terrain was no longer just a geographical feature. It had become a living, breathing enemy. Dr. Cowrey's location was now the most critical unknown variable. Initial intelligence suggested she was being held in a fortified position near the Central Valley, but the intense combat had destroyed any certainty. She could be a prisoner, a potential collaborator, or something far more complex. Rodriguez's team was experiencing the kind of total communication breakdown that defines the most critical military operations. They were no longer just a team, they were individual survival units, connected by the thinnest of tactical threads. Each member understood that their survival depended on their ability to adapt, to become less than a whisper in an environment designed to detect and destroy them. Jack's role became increasingly critical. His scope was now their eyes, their only remaining connection to situational awareness. Multiple hostile positions identified, he reported, his voice a clinical transmission of pure tactical information. Easter Ridge, approximately 200 meters. Recommend heavy suppression and rapid repositioning. The SOS hung in the air, a desperate cry that seemed to have disappeared into the mountain's indifferent landscape. Standard extraction protocols were now irrelevant. This was pure survival, a moment where military training would be tested beyond its designed limitations. Dr. Cowrey represented more than just a potential intelligence asset. Her work, rumored to be in advanced biochemical research, suggested capabilities that could fundamentally alter global power dynamics. Multiple international agencies had vested interests in her extraction, her suppression, or her elimination. Rodriguez made a critical decision. "Jack, we need a communication corridor," he subvocalized. "Provide suppressing fire that creates a 30-second window of potential transmission." It was an almost impossible request. Creating a communication window would require Jack to simultaneously neutralize multiple hostile positions with such precision that it would create a momentary electromagnetic silence. Where most snipers would see impossibility, Jack saw a complex mathematical problem waiting to be solved. His first shots were more than just precision strikes. They were strategic interventions designed to create tactical opportunities. A communication jamming station disappeared in a mist of precision-guided destruction. An elevated hostile position became nothing more than smoking debris. The 30-second window opened a razor-thin opportunity that would define the mission's potential survival. Rodriguez's transmission cut through the mountain's oppressive silence. Coded, compressed, a mathematical puzzle of information that would be incomprehensible to anyone without the specific decryption protocols. The message was both a request for extraction and a complex data transfer insurance against potential mission failure. Jack continued his precision strikes, creating a protective bubble around the transmission. Each shot was a calculated risk, a moment where human skill and computational precision merged into something beyond traditional military capability. As the transmission concluded, the mountain seemed to hold its breath. The desperate cry had been sent, but whether it would be answered remained the most critical unknown. The mission had transformed from an extraction operation into a pure survival scenario, and they were far from finished. Silence was a living thing on that mountain. Not the peaceful silence of wilderness, but a predatory quiet that spoke of imminent destruction. The team's communication systems were decimated, their tactical advantage stripped away like layers of skin. This was the moment where military training would be tested beyond its designed limits. Jack Reaver's voice cut through the chaos like a surgical instrument, calm, precise, almost conversational. But there was nothing casual about the information he was transmitting. Each word was a carefully calculated lifeline, a mathematical transmission of survival. Delta Team, Eastern Ridge, 3 hostiles at 2 o'clock, he began, his voice a metronome of tactical information. Wind speed 12 kilometers per hour, northwest. Terrain provides minimal cover. Recommend immediate lateral movement, 30-degree. Angle. Commander Rodriguez recognized something profound in that moment. This wasn't just communication. This was a complete tactical reconstruction of their survival strategy, delivered with a computational precision that defied human limitation. The mountain had become a 3-dimensional chessboard of survival. Where most would see chaos, Jack saw a complex equation. Each rock formation, each potential cover, each enemy position, nothing more than variables to be calculated and neutralized. Dr. Elena Cowrey's presence added another layer of complexity to their already impossible situation. She wasn't just a target for extraction. She was a living repository of information that could potentially reshape global power dynamics. Multiple international agencies would kill or die to control her and her knowledge. Rodriguez's tactical mind worked in perfect synchronization with Jack's computational approach. Confirm hostile positions, he subvocalized, knowing that every transmission could potentially reveal their location. The mountains seemed to listen, waiting. Jack's response was instantaneous. Negative on previous assessment. Thermal imaging shows 4 hostiles, not 3. Additional heat signature 50 meters northwest. Potential secondary support team. His voice remained unchanged, a clinical transmission of pure tactical information. The team's survival now depended on a communication method that defied traditional military protocols. Jack wasn't just providing support. He was becoming their eyes, their computational brain, their last remaining connection to tactical survival. Each transmission was a complex mathematical puzzle. Wind resistance, terrain complexity, potential enemy movement patterns Jack processed. These variables faster than most computers could calculate. His mind had become something beyond human, a living, breathing tactical algorithm. Rodriguez understood the profound nature of their connection. Jack wasn't just a sniper. He was a strategic asset that could fundamentally alter the dynamics of modern warfare. His ability to process information, to see tactical opportunities where others saw only chaos, transcended standard military training. The enemy's tactics were sophisticated far beyond typical insurgent capabilities. Precision electronic warfare, targeted communication disruption, strategic positioning that suggested state-level training. This was more than a military confrontation. This was a complex information war where survival depended on computational precision. Create a communication corridor, Rodriguez requested, knowing the almost impossible nature of the request. Jack would need to simultaneously neutralize multiple communication jamming positions while providing a momentary window of tactical transmission. Jack's response was immediate. Affirmative. 30-second window. Prepare for compressed data. Transmission. His first shots were more than precision strikes. They were strategic interventions designed to create tactical opportunities. A communication jamming station disappeared in a mist of precision-guided destruction. An elevated hostile position became nothing more than smoking debris. The communication window opened a razor-thin opportunity that would define their potential survival. Dr. Cowrey's presence added another layer of complexity. Her research, rumored to be in advanced biochemical technologies, suggested capabilities that could fundamentally alter global scientific understanding. She was more than a potential intelligence asset. She was a living weapon of intellectual potential. Jack's voice continued to be their lifeline. Recommend immediate repositioning. Current position compromised. Thermal imaging shows increasing hostile concentration. Each word was a calculated risk, a moment where human skill and computational precision merged into something beyond traditional military capability. Rodriguez recognized the profound nature of their tactical communication. This was more than STANDARD military protocol. This was a new form of warfare where individual human capability merged with computational precision to create something entirely new. The mountain seemed to hold its breath. Jack's voice continued a metronome of survival, a computational transmission of pure tactical information. Where most would hear a simple communication, Rodriguez heard a complex symphony of survival. Strategies. 3 potential extraction routes, Jack continued. Route Alpha, 37% survival probability. Route Beta, 52% survival probability. Route Charlie, 61% survival probability. Recommend immediate divergence and tactical repositioning. It was more than a recommendation. It was a mathematically calculated path to survival. Rodriguez made his decision. Charlie route. Implement immediate tactical repositioning. Jack's voice remained their only connection to survival. A computational lifeline cutting through the mountain's oppressive silence. The mission had transformed from an extraction operation into a pure survival scenario, and they were far from finished. The extraction helicopter emerged from the mountain's throat like a mechanical phoenix, a promise of salvation cutting through the most brutal landscape imaginable. But salvation, they knew, would come with a price written in blood and sacrifice. Commander Rodriguez was critically wounded, his body a map of tactical injuries that would have broken lesser men. A fragment of an RPG had torn through his tactical vest, leaving a wound that spoke of both immediate danger and potential mortality. Yet his eyes remained laser-focused, a commander's determination burning brighter than the pain that threatened to consume him. Dr. Elena Cowrie was not what they had expected. Far from a passive victim, she was a living embodiment of controlled chaos. Her hands, still steady despite the violent extraction, clutched a secure data drive, the real prize of their impossible mission. Years of advanced biochemical research. Potential global game-changing information, compressed into a device smaller than a credit card. Jack Reaver's position became critical. He was no longer just a sniper. He was the team's guardian, their last line of defense, the computational brain that would determine their survival. From his elevated position, the extraction zone was a complex 3-dimensional chessboard, where each movement could mean life or death. Hostile concentration increasing. Jack's voice cut through the communication systems, multiple heat signatures converging. Recommend immediate acceleration of extraction protocol. His words were more than a recommendation. They were a mathematically calculated survival strategy. The helicopter's approach was anything but conventional. Advanced stealth technologies made it more ghost than machine, its rotors designed to minimize sound, its exterior constructed with radar-absorbing materials. But the mountain knew they were coming. The landscape itself seemed to prepare for conflict. Rodriguez's wound was critical. A medical team aboard the helicopter worked with a precision that bordered on the supernatural. Each movement calculated. Each action a potential difference between life and death. Dr. Cowrie assisted, her biochemical knowledge turning her into an impromptu field medic. Jack's rifle became more than a weapon. It was a surgical instrument of protection. Each shot a precisely calculated intervention designed to create a protective bubble around the extraction team. Where most snipers would see chaos, he saw a complex mathematical problem waiting to be solved. The first wave of enemy counterattack was brutal. Rocket-propelled grenades erupted from seemingly impossible angles, turning the rocky terrain into a landscape of instantaneous destruction. Jack's responses were instantaneous. Each shot a strategic intervention that seemed to defy the laws of physical probability. 2 team members had already fallen, their bodies retrieved with a tactical precision that spoke of years of training, were not just casualties. They were brothers, part of a brotherhood forged in the most extreme conditions imaginable. Jack's computational mind processed their loss, not with emotion, but with a strategic understanding of the mission's continued survival. Dr. Cowrey's presence added another layer of complexity. Her research suggested capabilities that could fundamentally alter global scientific understanding. She wasn't just a passive extraction target. She was a living repository of potentially world-changing information. The helicopter's approach became a dance of technological precision and human survival. Jack's computational support created a protective corridor. Each shot a strategic intervention that seemed to push back the very boundaries of tactical possibility. Wind resistance, terrain complexity, potential enemy movement patterns. He processed these variables faster than most computers could calculate. Rodriguez's leadership became critical in these moments. Wounded but unbroken, he continued to provide tactical guidance. Maintain lateral approach, he instructed the pilot. Minimize exposure, maximum maneuverability. Each word was a calculated risk, a moment of strategic intervention. The mountains seemed to fight back. Rock formations became launching points for enemy attacks. The landscape itself appeared to conspire against their extraction. But Jack's computational approach transformed the terrain from an enemy into a tactical resource. Dr. Cowrey's data drive represented more than just information. It was a potential game-changer in global scientific and geopolitical dynamics. Multiple international agencies would kill or die to control its contents. As the helicopter began its extraction sequence, the team's survival hung by the thinnest of threads. Jack's rifle continued its deadly work, each shot a precise mathematical calculation that seemed to push back the very boundaries of human capability. The final moments of extraction were a symphony of violence and precision. Enemy positions were systematically neutralized, a protective bubble created around the helicopter that seemed to defy the laws of tactical probability. Jack's computational support transformed what should have been an impossible extraction into a potentially successful mission. Rodriguez, despite his critical wound, maintained tactical awareness. His eyes, burning with the commander's determination, continued to assess the mission's potential success. Dr. Cowrey's presence, the data drive, secured, represented more than just a successful extraction. Jack would remain at his position, the last line of defense, the guardian who would ensure their potential survival. His sacrifice was not just a military protocol. It was a mathematical calculation of team survival. The helicopter began to lift, a mechanical promise of survival cutting through the mountain's brutal landscape. They were not finished. The mission was far from over. The world would never know the full story. Some missions are designed to remain in shadows, their true impact understood only by a select few who bear the weight of impossible decisions. Jack Reaver sat in a nondescript medical facility in Washington, D.C., his body a testament to survival. The doctors called his recovery miraculous. He called it mathematical probability, the same computational approach that had defined his entire career. Scars mapped his body like topographical lines, each one a story of survival against impossible odds. Commander Rodriguez's recovery was more complex. The wounds, both physical and psychological, ran deeper than any medical scan could reveal. His 15 years of special operations had prepared him for many things, but the complexity of their last mission had pushed even his legendary resilience to its absolute limit. Dr. Elena Cowrey became the mission's most unexpected variable. Far from a passive extraction target, she emerged as a critical player in a global information landscape that few truly understood. The data drive she had protected now secured in the most advanced cryptographic facilities in the United States represented more than just scientific research. It was a potential paradigm shift in global scientific understanding. Intelligence agencies from multiple countries began a silent war, not with bullets or bombs, but with information, computational power, and strategic positioning. The mission had become something far larger than a simple extraction. It was a pivotal moment in a complex global chess game where the stakes were nothing less than the future of scientific and technological development. Jack's computational approach to mission strategy had caught the attention of the highest levels of military and intelligence leadership. He wasn't just a sniper anymore. He had become a new kind of strategic asset, a human algorithm that could process tactical information at speeds that seemed to defy human limitation. The debriefing was unlike any standard military report, held in a secure facility deep beneath the Pentagon. It was more of a strategic analysis than an interrogation. Military leaders, intelligence experts, and scientific advisors listened with a combination of awe and strategic calculation as Jack and Rodriguez reconstructed the mission. Dr. Kauri's research focused on advanced biochemical technologies that promised or threatened to fundamentally alter human understanding of biological systems. Her work suggested capabilities that could revolutionize medical treatment, potentially solve complex genetic disorders, or create technologies that blurred the line between biological and technological systems. Rodriguez understood the broader implications. This isn't just about a successful mission, he told the assembled experts. This is about maintaining a delicate global balance of scientific and technological development. His voice carried the weight of someone who had seen the true complexity of global power dynamics. Jack's role had transformed. Military leadership saw him as more than just an exceptional operator. He represented a new approach to mission strategy, a living, computational system that could process tactical information with unprecedented speed and accuracy. Discussions were already underway about developing training programs based on his unique approach. The personal cost was significant. The team members lost during the mission were more than casualties. They were brothers, a brotherhood forged in the most extreme conditions imaginable. Each loss was a wound that would never fully heal, a reminder of the human cost of global strategic operations. Dr. Kauri's presence added another layer of complexity. She wasn't a passive participant in the aftermath. Her scientific expertise became a critical asset, bridging the gap between military strategy and scientific innovation. The data drive she had protected represented potential technological capabilities that could reshape entire industries. Media speculation was carefully managed. Controlled leaks suggested a routine special operations mission, nothing more. The true nature of their extraction, the scientific implications, the global strategic significance would remain hidden from public view. Jack's future became a subject of intense discussion. Military leadership saw him as a potential blueprint for a new type of special operations professional, one who combined computational thinking, tactical expertise, and strategic vision in a way that transcended traditional military training. Rodriguez faced his own challenges. His wounds were more than physical. 15 years of special operations had taken their toll. But he saw their mission as more than just a single extraction. It was a pivotal moment in a complex global strategic landscape. Dr. Kauri's research continued, now under the most intense security protocols imaginable. Her work suggested technologies that could fundamentally alter human understanding of biological systems, potential medical breakthroughs that could save millions of lives, or technological capabilities that could reshape global power dynamics. The mission became a legend within special operations circles, not through dramatic storytelling, but through a subtle understanding of its true strategic significance. A mission that was about far more than a simple extraction, a moment that represented a potential turning point in global scientific and strategic development. Jack Reaver understood something profound. Survival wasn't just about individual capability. It was about understanding the complex systems that defined human existence, whether on a battlefield, in a scientific laboratory, or in the intricate global strategic landscape. As he looked out the window of the secure medical facility, Jack saw more than just a landscape. He saw a complex system of potential interactions, of strategic possibilities, of mathematical probabilities, waiting to be calculated. The mission was over, but their true journey was just beginning.